In 1996, after 8 years of intensive civil war between various armed groups, the extremist Taliban group for the first time came to power. Since 2001, we experienced a terrible government, oppressor and extremist, strictly following the practice of the Al-Quran, followed by a US reprisal against the group's government, resulting in a bloody war that lasted for 5 long years, where not only soldiers, but mainly civilians, suffered from the fight.
دي بم دي تیاری بم سچوله دا بچرا تاجی ماتلا کی دا ګوره دا درس ماشومان دي سایلا دا درس ماشومان دي.
Those who survived most were oppressed, and among them stand out a special group, the women. They had their rights restricted by the extreme religiosity of Taliban members, which prevented them from studying, working, living home alone, restricting their clothing, and putting them in a subhuman condition, suffering from the extreme chauvinism and violence on the part of men. With the end of 2001 and a new democratic government, many rights were guaranteed for them, reestablishing their place of importance in Afghan society. Although in August 15 of 2021, after 20 years of US victory over the Taliban, the president of Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani, left the country and the return of the rebel group was consolidated, causing the rights and security of everyone, but especially women, to be threatened.
We're back inside. We're just showing you again, our viewers who are following this, just showing you again those pictures from earlier of Taliban fighters behind the desk of the presidential palace. Taliban fighters have taken down the flag of Afghanistan inside the presidential palace. That flag has been rolled up.
Many promises were made on the issue of women's rights by the new Taliban government, where they say they will be more moderate and will be not the same as in the past. Therefore, today we brought an interview made by Pedro Morita to 3 young people about their opinions on the Taliban issue.
Hello, good evening, Isadora, Maria Eduarda, and Maria Rosa. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, now I'm going to make some questions for you about the Taliban, okay?
Okay.
Of course.
First one. What do you think about the way Taliban governed for the women from 1996 to 2001?
The Taliban government never favored anything for women. They can be themselves. Women had no freedom. They are forbidden to study, work. They couldn't even leave the house without a man. I think it's wrong the way they govern because women are humans too and should have the same rights as men.
And do you think they can change? There's a way to reconcile the rules of their ideology and the women's rights?
I believe that the ideal would be for them to change, but the way they treat women believing their own ideology is rooted in society, not to mention the religious context, almost impossible in proving a change.
In the 5 years of the Taliban influence on Afghanistan, women had rights to study, work, or even go out from home without a man. Do you think that in this new government of theirs, they are really going to make some what was promised, changing some of these rules and being more flexible with the women's rights? Or is it just a way to get people calmed down?
The new government promised improvements and more freedom for women. There was this interview where Mujahid comments that he saw 3 women inside a classroom, and he said that apparently the Taliban tries to show an image of moderation. But many people still believe that these improvements were only imposed to pretend and obtain an improvement in equality to all who lives there. Well, I believe that they are doing this just to calm down the thoughts that people have of all of this, so they can continue doing the same mistakes against the women.
Actually, many protests were happening in Afghanistan, a lot of them being made by women against the sexist laws. The Taliban soldiers were not ready for the numbers of the protests and repressed them with violence. Do you think that's the right way to deal with it?
As we all know, the violence does not solve everything. It was very wrong assaulting women only because they were making a protest for equality in society. Residents of the city, journalists, and people who were around were sexually assaulted, some were shot, others were beaten, and for sure this is not the right thing to solve a certain problem.
Actually, today there is no woman in any government position of power in the country. Do you think only men can govern to both men and women?
Certainly not. Women have the same ability that men have to rule. So in any place of the world, women should have the same rights and opportunities to be in a position of power.
Many Afghan women are raising an online campaign called #DoNotTouchMyClothes against the dress code imposed by the Taliban government. What do you think about this new campaign? It can help getting this theme more visibility to the women's rights in the country and maybe give women some more freedom.
Women in Afghanistan made a campaign on social media where they shared photos and videos with their traditional dresses full of color, where they said, "Do not choose our clothes." This campaign is very important and will give them more visibility and maybe they can give more freedom.
So this was the interview. If you enjoyed it, follow us to see more, and if you like it, give a like down here. Goodbye!